In 1757, the frontier wilderness stretched wild and endless across the untamed continent. Takoda, a skilled Mohican warrior, lived alone in the deep valley forests, far from European settlements. He knew every trail, river, and mountain path. The ancient trees whispered their secrets to him, and he was the land's faithful guardian, as his ancestors had been for generations. One cool morning, Takoda heard desperate voices echoing through the misty forest. He moved silently toward the sound and soon discovered a small group of settlers huddled in a clearing. They were lost and frightened, far from any safe settlement. Their faces showed exhaustion and fear, their clothes torn from the thick undergrowth. They looked at him with hope and uncertainty. The settlers explained their situation in anxious words. War had broken out between the French and British, and the forest had become a battlefield. They had been traveling to Fort William Henry for protection when they lost their way. Now they were without food or direction, needing help to survive in the hostile wilderness. Takoda thought carefully about their request. These were dangerous times, and the journey would risk his own life. But looking at their frightened faces, he remembered his father's teaching. A true warrior protects those who cannot protect themselves. After a long moment, Takoda nodded and agreed to guide them to safety. The group began their journey the following morning. Takoda moved ahead, reading signs in the earth and watching for danger. He taught the settlers to walk quietly and leave no trace, explaining that every forest sound could mean danger or safety. The settlers listened carefully and followed his instructions exactly. On the second day, Takoda discovered fresh footprints in the mud. A war party of at least 8 warriors had passed recently. He quickly changed their route, leading the group higher into the rocky hills where the terrain was harder but offered better hiding places. The climb was exhausting, but the settlers trusted his judgment and followed without complaint. That night, Takoda heard faint movement in the darkness. Warriors had found their trail and were approaching. He calmly told the settlers to hide quietly among the rocks and remain silent. Then he stood alone at the narrow entrance to their shelter, weapon ready, prepared to defend them if necessary. The war party emerged from the dark trees, weapons ready. Takoda stood his ground and called out in their language. He explained that the settlers were peaceful people, not soldiers, seeking only safety. They had no weapons and posed no threat. His words were strong and carefully chosen, and he made clear he would not move aside. The war party leader, a stern warrior with battle scars, stepped forward and studied Takoda's face. He recognized his name and his father's great reputation as a man of honor. After a tense moment of silence, the leader slowly lowered his weapon and agreed to let the group pass. Takoda had saved them through courage and wisdom, not violence. 3 days later, Takoda guided the exhausted settlers to Fort William Henry's territory. They thanked him with deep gratitude and offered gifts, but Takoda quietly refused everything except their thanks and their promise to remember his kindness. He had done what honor required, and that was payment enough. As Takoda walked back into the wilderness alone, he felt at peace. The forest welcomed him home like an old friend. He had protected innocent lives, upheld his people's values, and honored his father's memory. In the wild valley where he had always lived, he would remain the silent guardian, watching over the land and those who needed his protection.